The Keth warship Vorth's Fury dropped out of hyperspace with every alarm screaming. "Status," barked Admiral Thangkos, his secondary eyelids flickering with the particular anxiety that only deep space ambushes could produce. His species had crossed 40 star systems. They had glassed moons. They had made the Virali Confederation beg on their knees. But the Galactic Coalition's patrol ships were faster than expected, and now the Vorth's Fury was bleeding drive plasma from 3 wounds in her hull. "We have 1 jump remaining," said Navigator Preelshaw, her bioluminescent markings pulsing orange, the color of fear poorly hidden behind professionalism. "Coalition pursuit ships will reach us in 11 minutes. Then we jump." Thangkos pulled up the star charts. "Where?" Preelshaw hesitated. That hesitation alone said everything. "Anywhere," the Admiral growled. "There is 1 sector within range." Her voice dropped to nearly nothing. "Sector 7 null. The restricted zone." Silence fell over the bridge like a burial shroud. Every spacefaring species knew about the restricted zone. A ragged stretch of space near the galactic arm's inner curve, 17 star systems, 42 inhabited worlds, and a debris field so thick with wrecked ships that cartographers had stopped updating it. The Coalition had sealed it off 200 years ago. No entry. No exit. The beacons simply said, "Forbidden. Turn back. You have been warned." No one knew why. Some said it was a graveyard of an ancient war. Others said a plague lived there, something that ate at metal and mind alike. The Yorith claimed their ancestors had sent a scouting fleet in and received back only a single message, 3 words long, before the fleet went silent forever. "They are already here." "Jump," said Thangkos. The Vorth's Fury arrived in Sector 7 null with her engines barely holding together and her crew bracing for the worst. What they found was worse than the worst. Stars. Clean, warm stars, burning gold and amber. Planets wrapped in blue and green. And between those planets, ships. Hundreds of ships. Not derelict. Not drifting. Moving with the precise, unhurried confidence of a civilization that had been doing this for a very long time. And then the hailing frequency opened. "Unidentified vessel, this is Commander Darian Voss of the Human Frontier Rangers, Sector 7 Command." The voice was calm. Conversational. Almost friendly, in the way that a very large predator can afford to be friendly. "You've entered restricted space. Please reduce speed and prepare to be boarded. We'll sort out the paperwork together." Thangkos stared at the viewscreen. A human. A human was speaking to him like he was a freighter that had missed a turn. He knew of humans, of course. Every species did. Humans were, well, the polite term was eccentric. They were the species that had shown up to the Galactic Coalition 2 centuries ago, cheerful and loud and carrying more questions than any species had a right to carry. They'd been given associate membership, everyone agreed they were harmless enough, and then, about 180 years ago, they had quietly requested to manage the restricted zone. The Coalition had laughed. The zone was cursed. The zone was deadly. The zone had eaten 3 survey fleets. The humans had smiled and said, "We'll take it." No one had thought to ask why. "This is Admiral Thangkos of the Keth Supremacy," he said carefully. "We are requesting temporary sanctuary. We are being pursued by Coalition forces." A pause. Then Commander Voss's voice returned, and if anything it had gotten even warmer. "Yeah, we saw. The 7th Patrol Wing's been running you pretty hard. Come on in, Admiral. We've got a docking bay open on Station Hearth. Hot food, medical bay, and I'll personally guarantee no Coalition ship crosses into our space without an invitation." Another pause. They know better. Station Hearth was enormous. That was the first thing. Thangkos had expected a military outpost, something angular and utilitarian. Instead, he found a structure that seemed to have grown, older sections wrapped around newer ones, habitation rings spinning at different rates, gardens visible through viewports, the lights of what appeared to be a bustling market district glowing amber against the dark. The Keth crew disembarked into a docking bay full of humans who looked at them with the bright, curious eyes of people who found everything interesting. Commander Darian Voss was waiting at the bottom of the ramp. She was not what Thangkos expected. He'd anticipated military rigidity, the kind of bearing species put on when they wanted to seem formidable. Instead, she wore her Frontier Ranger uniform like it was a comfortable old jacket, her dark hair pulled back practically, her expression open and direct. She was perhaps 40 years old by human standards, he'd studied their aging enough to guess, with the kind of stillness that came not from restraint but from having nothing to prove. "Admiral." She extended a hand. The human greeting gesture. "Welcome to the zone." He took it. Her grip was careful. Deliberate. She knows how hard she could squeeze, he thought suddenly, and she is choosing not to. "Commander Voss," he said. "I confess, we did not know humans occupied this sector." "Nobody does," she said pleasantly. "That's sort of the point." She began walking, gesturing for him to follow. 200 years ago, the Coalition offered us this space because nobody wanted it. 3 lost fleets, strange readings, the whole haunted reputation. She smiled. Humans love a fixer-upper. She took him to an observation deck that looked out over the 7th planet of the system, a world humans called New Carthage, blue-green and breathing with life. "We terraformed 11 worlds in the first 50 years, Voss said, handing him a drink he didn't recognize. It was warm and smelled like something that had no right to smell that good. "The debris field you saw on the charts? That's our early construction waste and decommissioned ships. We kept it there because it makes a very convincing stay-away signal." She sipped her own drink. "The plague rumors we started ourselves, through some careful information seeding in the Yorith historical networks." Thangkos set down his drink. "The message," he said slowly. "They are already here." "That was one of ours, yes. We were testing long-range communication arrays." Voss's eyes were bright with something that was not quite amusement but was adjacent to it. "We may have been a little dramatic about the phrasing. In our defense, we were very young as a spacefaring species and we thought it was funny." He looked out at New Carthage. At the ships moving in quiet, purposeful arcs between the worlds. At the scale of what humans had built in 2 centuries, hidden behind a legend and a debris field, in a corner of the galaxy everyone else had been too frightened to want. "How many?" he asked. "People?" She considered. 40 billion, give or take, across the zone. We also have about 260 species living here with us, refugees, mostly. People who needed somewhere to go and found us instead of the rumor." She paused. "We're generous with the zone. We just ask that residents keep the secret." "And the Coalition? They don't know?" "The Coalition," Voss said carefully, "knows what we permit them to know. Which is, do not enter the zone, do not ask questions about the zone, and do not send patrol ships to the zone's border because we will send them back considerably more humble than they arrived." The pleasantness in her voice didn't change at all. "We have our own fleet now. Built quietly. Tested thoroughly. We don't want war, we never do, but we know what we're capable of, and the Coalition's senior intelligence officers know it too." She turned to look at him fully. "You're welcome to stay as long as you need, Admiral. Your crew will be treated well. When you leave, we'll ask for your discretion." She tilted her head slightly. "And if you'd like to not leave, if the Keth supremacy is looking for an arrangement, well, we've had stranger conversations." 3 days later, Thangkos sat in the docking bay watching his crew board the repaired Vorth's Fury. Their wounds dressed. Their engines singing. Their faces carrying the specific expression of people who had walked into a legend and found it stranger and kinder than advertised. Navigator Preelshaw stopped beside him. "Do we report what we found?" she asked quietly. The Admiral thought about Commander Darian Voss standing at an observation window looking out over a civilization she'd helped build in the galaxy's blind spot, speaking about 40 billion people and 260 species with the calm of someone who had long since stopped needing anyone else's validation. He thought about what the Keth supremacy would do with that information. He thought about what humans would do if they did. "No," he said. He walked up the ramp. Behind them, Station Hearth turned slowly in the amber light of a warm, quiet star, and went on about its business, enormous, unhurried, and entirely unbothered, exactly as it always had been. Exactly as humans always were, when they had enough room to become themselves.